So we have already seen how defining a thread by by extending thread class, correct? Defining a thread by extending thread class. What was the second way? Defining a thread by implementing runnable interface. Now we will see this one, that is defining a thread by implementing runnable interface. Let's see here that runnable interface, I have already explained you actually this point. We have a runnable interface, and actually thread class also implements this. Thread class also implement this, and then we are using our child thread class method to extend this. Okay, the second way is directly implement the runnable interface. Directly implement the runnable interface from the child thread class. Let's see the code for this. So child runnable thread implements runnable. So this is the important line, that is it implements runnable, correct? Not extend thread but implements runnable. That is an interface. So we have to now the point is we are not overriding the run method. We are not overriding. Overriding was in the case when we are extending the thread class. We have to implement the run method in case of interface, because runnable interface, it is an interface. Okay, so whatever methods are there in the interface, the child class has to implement it. The child class has to implement it. So the child runnable thread has to implement the methods inside the runnable interface, and there is only one method, that is the run method. So we need to implement it. So here is the implementation. So what this is known as the job of my child thread. Okay, this is the job. Next, in the test class, in the main method, that is the main thread will begin now. Here what we are doing, we are creating an object. So the main thread begin and we are creating an object. Now what we are doing is we are creating an object for our thread class also, because if you want to use .start method, this method is present in the thread class. Okay, so what do we need actually a object of thread class, a reference variable of thread class. So using this object we can call the start method. Okay, I think you already know this. For example, if I have an array list, so we write array list equals to new array list, correct? So this is an reference variable of array list class. Okay, now I can use the method inside my array list. Okay, if I want to sort or if I want to do add anything, so array list dot add I can use directly. So similarly here, so what I am doing, I am creating a reference variable t, I'm initializing an object of a thread class. Okay, so now I can use the methods of thread class using the reference variable t. So what I do t dot start, and this is the job of the main thread. Okay, so now tell me what will be the output of this program. What will be the output of this program? Just think hard and tell me what will be the output. Will the child runnable thread be printed 5 times and main thread will be printed 1 time, or the main thread will be printed once and the child runnable thread won't be printed at all? What will be the output? What will be the output of this? Can anyone tell me? So using the start method, so obviously we have one thread, now 2 threads are present, a child thread and a main thread. So this is not an issue. So what will be the answer? Just think about it. Just think. I want you to think about it. So for example, if I implement this in my IDE and if I run it, the same code, if I run it, so let's see what is the output now. Just cross check your outputs. Just main thread, no, not even once child runnable thread is implemented. What can be the reason? Can you guess the reason? What can be the reason that child runnable thread is not even printed a single time? Just think about it. So as you can see here, I have thread t and new thread and t dot start. So this start method will go where? To the thread class. Okay, and it will call the run method. Now in this whole scenario, have I told the thread class that you have to call the run method of the child runnable thread? In this whole scenario, have I ever used the reference variable ct, the reference variable of child runnable thread? Have I ever used this object? No. So how will thread class know that I have to run this method? It will obviously run its own run method, correct? So start will invoke the run method, and inside the thread class the run method is an empty implementation, so nothing will be printed, and main thread will only be the thing that is printed. Have you understood this? In this whole scenario, I haven't told that reference variable t or the thread class that I want to run this child runnable thread object. In this whole scenario, I haven't done this. So how will you do this? How will you tell the thread class that I have actually an implementation of run and you have to run this method? You have to run this method, not any other method but this method. So how will you do this? So let's see now. Let's see how we will do this. So this is the same code, just a single change, just a single one change. And the change is when I am initializing my object, I am passing ct. I am passing CT, that is nothing but the reference variable of my child runnable thread, the reference variable of my child runnable thread, and this is known as target runnable. So what is the meaning of target runnable? So I am telling now the thread class that whenever you are running your method, that is whenever run method is invoked, I am giving you a target. So go to this class, and here the run method is present, execute this method, execute this method. So what it is target runnable. Okay, whenever I am implementing runnable class, what you have to pass into the thread class constructor is the target runnable. If you do not pass, the thread class will always call its own run method and it will print nothing. But now when I pass this, that CT, the target runnable, so now what will happen is the thread class will go, it will create the start method, and the start method will invoke the run method, and it will see that the target of the run method is nothing but this child runnable thread. So it will come to the child runnable thread and it will see the run method and it will execute it. Okay, so let's execute this one. So what I am doing here is just pass CT, just pass CT. Okay, and now run the program. Now main thread and child runnable thread will be executed. Main thread and child runnable thread will be executed, and I will get my actual output. Okay, so what are these? These are nothing but thread class constructors. Okay, we will see how many thread class constructors we have. The first one we have seen is when I am writing new thread, I am not passing any target. I am not passing any target. Second, I have seen that new thread and I am passing a target. I am passing a runnable. Okay, so we will see in the next lecture these constructors. There are other constructors as well. So we have seen already 2 and we have seen many more. We will see many more. Okay, so this is how you define a thread by implementing runnable interface. Okay, this is the difference between extending a thread and implementing a runnable interface. Okay, now the question arises, which one should you use? Which approach is recommended to implement the threads? That is the question. That is the question. We can this is just the important points, but the main question is which approach is recommended to implement thread, correct? So this is the some important theory for you to take the notes. So we can define a thread by implementing runnable interface. Runnable interface is present in java.lang package and it contains only one method, that is run. So now the important point, which approach is recommended to implement thread? Just think about it a bit, that which approach is recommended. A thread class is recommended or a runnable interface is recommended? Come on, think about it. So let me give you the answer. By implementing a runnable interface is the preferred approach to implement a thread. Now why it is so? So remember these questions can be asked to you in the interviews. Why it is so? So the reason being, we have 2 ways. This is the first way and the second way. When you use extend keyword, now you cannot extend any other class. I can only extend one class in Java, correct? So when I'm using extend keyword in thread, I cannot I cannot extend any other class. So any other class methods are not now. So what will happen is the inheritance benefits are missing. The inheritance benefits are missing in this case. But when we are here, we are implementing runnable. We are not extending it. I can extend any other class as well, and using this thread class constructors, I can also use the thread class methods. Okay, using the thread class constructors, why I can do this? Because thread class provides me with such constructors that without extending it, I can use its methods. You have seen 2 of them. Okay, without extending it, I can use its methods. The reason being, the thread class provides me with such constructors. Okay, so I will implement runnable, and using these constructors, I will use the methods of the thread class. I will use the methods of the thread class, and I can extend any other class as well. Whichever method I want to use, I can extend any other class as well. Okay, so this is the reason why runnable interface is preferred over the extend thread. Okay, inheritance benefits are missing here, but here I can take the benefits of inheritance. Okay, and if I want to use the thread class, I will just create its object, and in this creation of object, the constructor be used, different constructors will be used for different scenarios. Okay, so these constructors are actually very important in the case of implements runnable. Okay, we will see in the next lecture what are these constructors, how many different types of constructors we have. But just keep this in mind. Which approach is recommended? Runnable interface approach is recommended. Okay, why it is recommended? The reason being, when we extend a thread, when we extend a class, we cannot extend any other class. So interface inheritance benefits are missing. But in this case, we can extend another class as well, and all the functionalities that were present in extend thread way is also present in implement runnable way. Okay, so all these are actually present here, all the functionalities are present here, and we have an external additional functionality that we can benefit from inheritance. Okay, so this is the reason. So now this completes our defining a thread by implementing a runnable interface. Now you know there are two ways to defining a thread, that is by extending a thread and by implementing runnable interface. And now you also know that which method is actually preferred. So next we will see the constructors of the thread class and some other topic in the next video. Okay, so this was the video. Thank you.